Hi, I'm Hugo Fillion, co-founder and CEO of Flare. Tonight we're going to do the token distribution of Flare. So finally we get to answer the question, when Flare? What will happen in the next couple of hours is, in a couple of minutes, the distribution contract, a smart contract, so all of the addresses that were captured during the snapshot on December 12th, 2020, that contract will be triggered, which will then start distributing the tokens to each address. That will take about 2 hours. So just to recap, we're distributing the token tonight. That's going to the addresses. Exchanges, if you claim through an exchange, they will receive the token. It's then up to them to distribute the token to you. We've been extremely lucky in that many exchanges, or in fact, most of the industry, in fact, has agreed to distribute the token very shortly after the token distribution event. So that's what's happening now. And in a couple of minutes, about 4 minutes, the contract will be triggered. So just to sort of cover a little bit about what we're building with Flare. Flare is a layer 1 EVM based blockchain. It has certain protocols built into it. Those protocols are designed to bring data to the chain. The whole idea behind Flare is that you can build safely with high quality data. The first protocol that we've built into the network is called the Flare Time Series Oracle. The Flare Time Series Oracle is essentially delivering price or index data, so probabilistic data that moves over time, to the network. It is composed of what we call data providers. Data providers each deliver a specific price signal to the network, and collectively those price signals form the price of, say, a single asset like Bitcoin USD. Together, those different data providers come to consensus over the price, and the token of the network, so in this case Flare, and on our Canary network Songbird, the Songbird token, is delegated to price providers. The system then takes that delegation and uses that to account for how much weighting each provider should have in the signal that is generated. Our second protocol, called the Stake Connector, allows Flare to come to consensus over what has happened on another blockchain and potentially over what has happened on various internet APIs. That takes the nodes of the network, or what we call attesters, to put data from other blockchains onto the chain. So this might be something like a transaction on Bitcoin, and it allows those attesters to essentially vote on whether that transaction has happened. And it also has a binary forking protocol, which allows anyone to contest the result of that vote. And so that means that the system is not secured with proof of stake. It is secured having large amounts of stake essentially at risk with regards to that system, such that the system is limited by the amount of stake that is held. So I'm going to hand over in a couple of minutes to Philip and Luca. But first we're going to have a brief interlude with the holding screen.
Så transaktie.
Ska vi starta?
Ja. Monster.
Luca.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
A little bit sleepy, but we've started with the airdrop, so yeah, exciting moment for everybody, I think.
Very exciting moment. And I wanted to just start by thanking the community very, very much for their support over the last 2 years. It's been an arduous process to get here, but we're unbelievably excited to be here. And of course, I wanted to thank our exchanges who have agreed to distribute the token, and of course, everyone that claimed through self-custody. So Luca, would you be able to just very briefly describe exactly what's happening to people?
Yeah, so we've already set the initial airdrop distribution balances. So all of the 100 and 400,000 accounts are set to receive their flare values, and we're just querying the initial airdrop contract. So 50 addresses per batch get their flare distributed, and this will take roughly a few hours. So in a few hours time, everybody will receive their flare, and the party can begin, right? So
Fantastic. Thank you. So now we have a presentation on Flare by two of our team members, Tim and Utam. Tim joined us recently from FTSOAU, and Utam is working on developer relations for us, so a very important job. So very much looking forward to seeing their presentation now. Just to recap really what Flare is about, and hopefully it's of interest.
So let's just quickly get an idea of what Flare is. Now, Flare is a purpose-built blockchain with a vision to solve the challenges that have constrained innovation in our industry. It has been engineered as a high-performance, decentralized cross-chain platform that delivers a set of native open protocols which are secured by the network. These protocols serve as the foundation to build interoperable and composable applications. In essence, Flare is built to help the blockchain industry scale by enabling digital assets and on-chain information to flow freely. From a technical perspective, Flare is a layer 1 blockchain network utilizing the Ethereum virtual machine, or EVM for short. Flare offers two core native protocols. The first is called the Flare Time Series Oracle. This protocol delivers highly decentralized time series data feeds to dApps on Flare. Currently, this includes digital asset price pairs. The second protocol is the State Connector, which acquires information from other blockchains and the internet. This data can then be used securely, scalably, and trustlessly with smart contracts on Flare. Together, these protocols allow developers to create an ecosystem of robust and decentralized interoperable applications, connecting everything. Let's first look at the Flare Time Series Oracle, often referred to as the FTSO for short. It is a highly decentralized protocol for safely retrieving external time series data, such as cryptocurrency price pairs, for use on Flare. It takes data at 3-minute intervals from an independent network of data providers who are incentivized to deliver accurate information. Now let's look at the FTSO system in action. Independent entities, who are known as data providers, are required to harvest and collate individual price pair data for a set of cryptocurrencies from exchanges. They then send this data to Flare by signing a transaction containing all this information. The FTSO system on Flare then computes a price estimate for each cryptocurrency and makes it available for any user or application to request the data they require. This data can then be used for any number of use cases, such as asset prices in a decentralized lending protocol. In this process, each data provider submission is weighted by its stake and any stake delegated to it by any Flare holder. This creates a representative reward system that reflects the community's trust in a particular provider. It enables an incentivization system where all stakeholders can receive a share of rewards. Now, rewards are based upon the data provider's submission and how close it is to the computed estimate. There are two ways that Flare community FLR token holders can participate in the network. First, they can wrap their FLR into WFLR and delegate it to FTSO data providers. This enables token holders to directly contribute to the safety of the system. Delegated WFLR tokens remain in the user's wallet, which enables them to earn rewards in the FTSO system while using their tokens for other purposes. Second, by holding FLR tokens, users are eligible to participate in network governance and vote upon Flare improvement proposals with the wider community.
Now let's talk about State Connector. The State Connector enables information from both the blockchain and the internet to be used securely, scalably, and trustlessly with smart contracts on the Flare network. It does so in a decentralized and secure manner, which can power a wide range of interoperability solutions, which in turn will enable developers to build applications that are multi-chain or cross-chain. Developer will be able to access the value, liquidity, and the information of multiple ecosystems through a single deployment on Flare. It has been designed to be able to integrate with any blockchain without requiring a centralized third party or a code change on the underlying chain. This approach to cross-chain connectivity means there is no compromise needed between the speed and the safety. The State Connector system uses a set of independent attestation providers to acquire specific information and deliver it to the Flare network. The State Connector smart contract then verifies a suitable level of consensus has been reached amongst the attestation providers and their submitted information. Once approved, the data is securely reported to the network. An example use of State Connector is to verify whether a transaction has taken place on another blockchain. For example, if one Bitcoin has been transferred from address A to address B. The process would be as follows. An application could make a query to the State Connector to search a specific Bitcoin blockchain transaction details. Individual attestation providers would in turn search the transaction and return a true or false result. If suitable consensus is reached between the providers stating true or false, the transaction detail can be proved and reliably used by the application. Flare is a EVM compatible chain. Any application written in Solidity programming language can be run on the Flare network. This means developers can use existing Solidity coded applications running on other EVM chain and deploy them directly to run on Flare. Flare uses an adapted Snowman++ consensus protocol secured by proof of stake, which boosts the network throughput and enables lower fee and low carbon footprint for the chain. In addition, Flare's native protocol, that is the State Connector and the FTSO, provide secure access to decentralized off-chain data, giving builders and engineers the flexibility to create a new innovation and interoperable applications. Last but not the least, the Flare Ecosystem Support Program provides both financial and technical support to the projects and entities within the Flare community in order to accelerate the growth of the ecosystem. Flare supports new applications, builder tools, and infrastructure supporting the network growth. Next, the Bug Bounty program spans end-to-end from protocol robustness and implementation compliance to the network security and consensus integrity. Classical client security and security of cryptographic primitives are also a part of the program. Finally, all the source code from FTSO to the State Connector and the nodes are open source, enabling the community to contribute to our code base and documentation. So go and have a look at the code base of Flare blockchain. Trust me, this is just a beginning. We are working to bring a variety of community initiatives in the near future to match the fast growth of the community. This is all for this presentation. Thank you so much.
So that was a recap on what's been built at Flare. And to recap, we've started the distribution. So that is now ongoing, and some people will be seeing Flare in their wallets right now, which is pretty exciting for us. So Flare is about interoperability. It's about data. It's about being able to build with more data than you've ever been able to build with before. And now we're just going to cover, some of the people that are building on the network. So we've had a lot of really fantastic builders come to our Canary networks. People like Pangolin, Flare Finance, Oracle Swap, Oracles, Fat Cats, which I think some of you know I'm a particular fan of, and quite a few, and I suspect many more to come. So we managed to reach out to some of our builders and get them to kind of describe their projects and why they came to Flare.
So Pangolin is best known for its DEX, its decentralized exchange. We've come across from Avalanche. We've also launched on Songbird. We've done almost 17 billion in volume. But we've matured and we've embraced the connect everything ethos, and we've expanded our product suite to include much more than just a DEX. So we've integrated new protocols such as BridgeSwap, which currently supports approximately 33 chains. We also have a unique farming and staking algorithm called Sunshine and Rainbows. And this is our take on V-tokenomics, which rewards loyalty and sticky liquidity, which we hope will reward the loyal members of our DEX. We've thrown in Honeycomb, which is a DeFi UR building block kit, which as well as a new project we're busy building called Ortage, which will leverage Flare's unique technology stack to build something, in my opinion, that will be really special. So what brought me to blockchain and to build on Flare? So the ethos of the cypherpunks always intrigued me. I was raised in a society that perpetuated a lot of abuses of power on its citizens, and discovering a technology that rallied against a powerful minority aligned with my worldview. From there, I discovered Snowman Consensus, and that led me to Flare and its unique value proposition, which I'd never seen before. So, the aspects of Flare that most interest me, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but the use cases and possibilities that State Connector and FTSO open up are really exciting. As I alluded to earlier, those technologies will help us build new products that offer use cases we haven't seen before on the blockchain. Our goal is to expand the use cases of Flare across a multi-chain future, and State Connector and FTSO really allow us to do that. Some of the upcoming features we've got in 2023. So we'll look to launch the DEX the day after TDE on Flare, and then it's all about building this year. We have Honeycomb, which we're really pushing to. Currently, it supports a lot of the functionality within DeFi primitives, but we'd look to add more partner functionality too. So we'll be reaching out a lot to people within the ecosystem. We're looking to partner with as many people as possible and as many projects as possible to help push their products into a wider audience. We also then have Ortage, which is a decentralized tool which will help connect blockchains to each other. So something I'm very excited about and really helps us to align with Flare's ambitious goal of connecting everything. In terms of where I see the broader industry going in 2023, I think with the FTX fallout, it's obvious that regulatory pressure will start increasing. Some of those bills will be passed and we'll start hopefully seeing a framework of regulatory transparency so that we know what we can and can't do. I also think we'll start to see some maturity of key technologies. I think zero knowledge is going to be a big technology progress moving forward in 2023. I also think we're going to see some other aspects such as account abstraction, and I think we're going to see a lot of focus on scaling solutions in terms of rollups and extra layers on top of the base.
Hello, my name is Nick. I'm the CEO of FLR Finance. We have now 10 products built and launched on Songbird. Some of them are our DEX, FLRX, our Launchpad and farming protocols, FLR Farm, FLR Drops, which is our NFT marketplace, Ori, which is the multi-sig solution, and many, many others. All those products are currently audited and tested and ready for Flare mainnet launch. And we have 3 more core products which are being tested as we speak. There are multiple very interesting aspects about the Flare network. First of all, the detachable vote of WFLR, which allows risk-free L1 rewards, gives Flare network the edge over the other networks in terms of DeFi usability. Secondarily, the FTSO system gives a more decentralized and robust Oracle system for use cases on DeFi, but also many, many other places. We chose to build on the Flare network very, very early on. First of all, because of its amazing community, which is very eager to learn and strives to share its knowledge. Secondarily, we can see the Flare network being an aggregator, a middleware, if you wish, of data, which we believe is a very, very strong tool. Now, also, in our opinion, that makes Flare being not in competition with other L1s. On the opposite, it brings them closer together. So first and foremost, we cannot wait for our launch on the Flare network, which will come with our snapshot and airdrop right sometime after the TDE. That airdrop will be done against the XFi holders, which currently have their home on the Songbird network, and of course the Flare holders on the Flare mainnet.
Hi, I'm Wesley, CEO and co-founder of PoundFi. PoundFi is a financial infrastructure for boosting NFT liquidity and its adoptions. So today, the 25 billion NFT industry is financially immature as major platforms only enable lending and selling use cases. With PoundFi, it is time for more robust NFT financial instruments. Anyone can put their NFTs to work and initiate collateral, renting, or selling simultaneously in one go. NFT, it is kind of like a connections between crypto space and real world. So state connector just came up. It will be definitely really helpful for lending projects like us that we can onboard more asset scopes from real world asset to this crypto space. And of course, for FTSO, giving us a good price reference, it is definitely really helpful for financial systems like PoundFi. So that's the reason why we're really interested and really excited in building on Flare to utilize all its technology. We will roughly go live in Q1, and what the community can expect will be a financial infrastructure that can solve NFT liquidity blindside as a whole.
Hey everyone, my name is Broly from Ignis Finance. We at Ignis are currently in the process of building a collateralized lending protocol for both Songbird and Flare. This will be a fully decentralized platform with no middleman entity. So everything on Ignis, whether you are lending or borrowing, will be done through the use of smart contracts. A good friend of mine that I met in the space, he started to tell me about Flare and the approach that they were taking towards interoperability within the whole crypto ecosystem, right? And that really caught my attention because I also believe that the future is a multi-chain one, of course. So after I looked into Flare, did some reading, I at that point decided this is where I want to build. One of the things that immediately stood out to me when I was first researching about Flare is that compared to other layer ones or layer twos that are out there, is the stance on working together with the rest of the crypto ecosystem versus a lot of other projects trying to take it over, right? Since the beginning of my time in the crypto space, there's always been a new project claiming to be, the next Bitcoin or an Ethereum killer, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, the best approach is working together because we all need this ecosystem to thrive and grow if we want to make a difference, right? So with certain freedoms in today's world being challenged, there is never a more urgent time than now to work together towards a decentralized future.
I'm Jake, the CEO and founder of UpBit. Our mission is to bring e-learning from Web 2 to Web 3, and by doing so, provide more value to key stakeholders in the e-learning industry, such as students and educators. We turn access to online courses into NFTs, or in other words, digital assets via our Edu NFT technology that we're building on Flare. We will make it possible for students to buy, own, and sell tradable access passes, NFTs, to online courses. But not just any courses. Courses taught by the top 1% of achievers worldwide, or what we like to call the uppercent. Flare's State Connector will enable us to receive data from other blockchains, which opens further opportunities for us in the future. Flare's approach to decentralized interoperability really sets Flare apart from other chains. And finally, the Flare community. You guys are amazing, and the support that you've shown for Flare over the last couple of years, specifically the Songbird network, has been admirable. So knowing that we're building our products for a great group of people that are trying to also see innovation in the Web3 space is hugely motivating. For anyone watching this video right now who is an active member of the Flare community, we're guaranteeing you membership to the UpBit when we open memberships in a few weeks' time, and all you have to do between now and then is go to www.uppercent.com and join our communities on Twitter and Discord. We look forward to building with you all soon, and of course, happy Flare TDE.
So Flare has some really great builders, and that's just a small selection of them. Thank you so much to all those people for putting together a video for us. That was fantastic. We're going to go over to Luca now, just to check in on where the distribution is.
Hello.
Hey, Luca, how are we doing?
We're about 15% done, or 15 to 20% done.
Ah, fantastic. So about 1 in 5 people that are expecting to receive their tokens should
see
have
their Flare tokens right now.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I'll come back to you a bit later.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. So we launched Canary Network last year called Songbird. And the first protocol to go live on that network was the FTSO. And as most of you probably know, that Flare is pretty much, we think, one of the largest token distributions to have ever happened. One of the reasons we did that was because it gives us the ability to distribute the token very, very widely. And that means that the network benefits from the decentralization of distributing that token. It also means we have communities all around the world. So from South America, North America, Asia, the Middle East, where I live, and Europe. So this gives us the ability to bootstrap decentralization and people building on the network. And we've been, very lucky with that. And, we really thank the community for doing that, for coming with us on this journey. And it has been a journey, and it will be a long journey going forward, hopefully a very exciting one. And, one of the first things that was tested on Songbird was the FTSO. And we now at 80 data providers on the FTSO, if not more. It's been providing prices every 3 minutes since about September 2001. It's highly accurate, and it's, we think, one of the most decentralized oracles in the space. So we're really excited by that. And that shows the power of Flare's community, that the decentralization of the FTSO is really, really important for quality data delivery. And I think when we looked last, we think about 60% of the people that received Songbird tokens are delegating those tokens. And by any metric in our industry, in blockchain, that is absolutely huge. And so we've achieved really great decentralization on Songbird, and we've already got about 80 data providers onboarded onto Flare. So we're really looking forward to the community, you guys and girls, delegating your tokens as soon as you receive them. So with that, I'm going to hand over to some of the FTSOs who, again, were really kind and created some videos for us.
I think the thing that interested me about Flare is interoperability, the ability to connect to all blockchains. At the time, I didn't even understand you couldn't buy Bitcoin with XRP, or you couldn't send someone a Bitcoin for Ethereum. Like I thought, sure, you could probably do that. I guess on exchange you kind of can. But what Flare's doing, I think, is totally different. I understand now, like it's just a role in the whole connect everything. It's just a piece of it. And for me, I think the most interesting part for sure is the interoperability.
Currencies always wanted to know more about DeFi. What is DeFi? What can it do? What is its potential? And Flare seems to be addressing these things in a very simple and constructive manner, in a way that's also scalable and fast and secure. So now as a developer, I can say my assumptions were right. The communication with the Flare team has been fantastic. The documentation is very clear. There are great development tools at hand. And of course, the community is fantastic. Very knowledgeable people, very eager to learn more, build applications. So keep it up, Flare. I think this is a very, very promising project. I haven't seen anything like this in the recent years, and I'm very, very excited about the time ahead.
I think what first interested me or brought my attention to Flare was the XRP airdrop. From there, I was able to start looking at the white papers. What really interests me was the consensus method and the FTSO. I thought those were two aspects, of an oracle. So we had the FTSO, which is an oracle, which there was the paradigm on Chainlink that I was already aware of on bringing data onto the chain in a secure manner. But the way that Flare was doing it after reading the white paper, it seemed like a brand new way, a very decentralized way of pulling data off-chain, on-chain.
Something that will be very interesting to have added to the Flare time series Oracle would actually be fiat currencies. I think this will greatly enhance the scope of the FTSO data providers. Right now we are gathering information from various cryptocurrency exchanges, but it would also be interesting to include the traditional financial system, to include currencies like the British pounds and the euro, because this will also allow developers to develop applications that include both cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies. So yeah, I think this would be a great addition to the Flare time series Oracle.
I'd like to see more real-world applications. Things such as I think one of the projects I would like to work on now is something like a freelance project. People are able to create content for others, but also own their content on the chain. Somebody would put out a bounty and of something that they need for content or anything for that matter, any kind of project. It would be minted on chain and it would be paid for on chain, and you can actually transfer and have some ownership over that and transfer it around.
It may be necessary to carefully consider which data types are most relevant and useful for a given application. Anyway, this is what I would like to see on Flare for real-world data. for example, in demographics, population data, such as age, education, because they'd be useful for generating estimates for demographic trends, health data, transportation data, environmental data. These are all interesting data type from the real world to bring on the blockchain.
Applications I'd like to see on Flare. I was pretty intrigued with the concept of having a decentralized advertising, something akin to what Facebook or Google's doing, but with the blockchain. I think it's interesting if I'm a company that wants to hire an influencer. I think it's interesting to offer them whatever currency I have and whatever they would like to receive for the action, and let the state connector work that out. I think the idea of having an influencer talk about your product, and then the state connector sees it and then makes the connection, makes the transaction, I think that's really interesting and really powerful. And clearly it's going to make things a little bit easier and kind of maybe even cheaper. I mean, it cuts out the middleman.
The Flare network has a lot of potential due to its advanced features, due to its ability of having safe and secure interoperability. I can imagine a lot of industries would be interested in building on Flare. A good example of this would be the gaming industry. It would make total sense for a gamer to be able to trade his assets to another asset from a different game, or even directly to a different cryptocurrency, but through the Flare network. The Flare network, in particular with its state connector, allows multi-chain interoperability. Now this means, of course, that if you want to work with a particular blockchain or multiple blockchains, you now have a single place, a single network, where you can build an app or game or any other kind of platform and have access to multiple blockchains all at once. Of course, due to its speed, low transaction costs, and security, Flare would also be a perfect place for minting NFTs. Whether it's gaming, an NFT marketplace, the fashion and design industry, anywhere where NFTs are useful, Flare will be an easy solution to build an app or applications that need low transaction costs, high speed, and security. So it will be hard to tell what kind of applications would come to Flare, because if anything is possible, then anything can be built.
Messages from our FTSOs. Remember, these are people that have come to the network and decided to build quite meaningful infrastructure on it. It's a hard job, and to be able to get so many and who are so passionate about what we're doing, what we're all doing as a community, is unbelievably exciting. So we think that's a fantastic start for the network, and we really thank all of our FTSOs for participating. And we really want the FTSOs to talk to us, join us, talk to us about how to improve the system, where it can be better. We already have been doing a lot of kind of outreach to the FTSOs, talking to them, figuring out where the system can be better, how we can make it easier, how we can make it more scalable. That'll be an exciting challenge. So we look forward to the price provision mechanism on Flare getting better and taking in more people. So that's kind of where we are with the FTSO system. And I had the sort of pleasure of speaking to a number of the people that have interviewed me for podcasts over the last couple of years. So the first interview I did was with Eri, I think, Crypto Eri. And she was just really interested in what Flare was doing and asked, could I come on camera? And I never had been on camera before. It was insane. And now I'm doing it all the time, which is also very strange. But I wanted to sort of thank Eri for kind of bringing me up there and really starting to help push us sort of into the public consciousness, because without that, Flare is sort of not very interesting. It only works if people know about it, and if people use it, and if people are interested in building on the protocols and interested in building on the network. So thank you, Eri. So we're going to go now to a number of kind of podcast segments I did with Ash, Eri, Tony from Thinking Crypto, and Santiago.
Hey Ash, how are you doing? Good to speak to you too.
I'm doing really well. Well, first of all, congrats. How's the team feeling?
Tired, I think. It's been a lot of work. Largest airdrop we believe, could be wrong, at least in a long time, possibly ever. So it's been a huge amount of work coordinating all the exchanges, partners, wallets, and all of those entities.
For sure. Well, I'm me, and I'm very excited. I'm sure I can speak on behalf of the community. We're all looking forward to that date. A nice website, by the way, the Flare website.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, we really wanted to have an improved, I guess, articulation of what Flare is, what the aims of the network are, and what we've been working on for the last couple of years. And we think we've it's hard to articulate these things. We hope we've done a better job than we had done previously.
No, I definitely agree. Well, let me put my inputs to that. Is the way the website was designed, it's very clear that anyone visiting the website, especially developers, they can see that, the two main protocols which the team, this blockchain is about, is the FTSO and the stake connector. And from then, a whole myriad of applications can be built. Hugo, I've got some questions I'd like to ask you, if you can address these.
Absolutely.
So as we approach the token distribution, I think the community has a sound grasp of how to participate. The next event that I see is voting on FIP when that's triggered. So how do you see the ecosystem developing in the early days, and what are the critical components of this system that must be stable before the next stages of development can occur?
So we've been lucky to have Songbird, the Canary Net, in position for a year and in operation. So we're not launching mainnet really from a cold start. We've got a great community. We have a lot of people building on Songbird, and of course we have more than 80 FTSOs. So for those who don't know, those are Flare time series Oracle data providers. They provide data to the network. Specifically time series data. So at the moment prices, but in the future through governance, it could be any type of time series data like weather data, commodity data, indexes of certain things, lots of interesting possibilities there. So got a really nice nucleus to start from, really, and as I said, a great community. So the network will launch Monday night in Europe, that is, so 23:59 CET, which is the last possible moment we could do it. It's quite emblematic. But the network will launch. The token will be distributed to all of the addresses. Those who self-custodied will, of course, have access to it immediately. Those that claim through an exchange, with most exchanges, they will have access to it within the next sort of 24 hours to 2 weeks. With some exchanges, unfortunately, it may take longer. And obviously, with either bankrupt exchanges or entities like Celsius, there's a more complex process, and we hope we'll be able to get people their tokens, but we're not fully certain currently of that, but we are working on it. So the tokens will be distributed, and then within a couple of days, the essentially the delegation process for the oracles, where people wrap their tokens and delegate their token votes to the FTSOs that have now moved, not just moved, but essentially copied themselves from Songbird onto Flare. Most of them have. People can start delegating to those, and the oracle price will start being created. So in terms of future development, the network is complete at launch, so it contains the FTSO code and the state connector code. Then a client side for the state connector will need to be released by someone so that the state connector can be fully launched and people can start providing attestations.
Right. Is that going to be developed by a development partner, or is that coming from the team? That's the interface to use the state connector.
Well, we would really like to have as many client sides as possible. The more client side code bases there are, the less probability that there's a glitch in any one client side code base. So we encourage any community members who have the interest in doing so in discussing with us the development of client side for the state connector.
I see. Yeah, you mentioned a lot about Songbird, and right now the community has just passed the STP, the first STP, and on Twitter you can see a lot of people sort of reacting on how this is going to impact delegations and vote power. What has your team learned from the Songbird network and the current dApp ecosystem?
So a couple of things. I mean, we talk internally a lot about how happy we are with how Songbird has evolved, really. To take a system like the FTSO from essentially a set of ideas and a white paper to what may be the most decentralized oracle in the space, certainly one of the most accurate oracles in the space, has been immensely gratifying for the team. That's not to say that we haven't found that there are drawbacks. So when we launched the FTSO system on Songbird, we had too high of a cap for the amount that could be delegated to a particular FTSO. And really that high cap was because we didn't necessarily expect the FTSO system to be as successful as it has been. We've really had huge uptake amongst data providers, which is a glorious result for a decentralized system, but it certainly shocked us. We've also seen limited examples of certain FTSOs perhaps duplicating themselves, essentially issuing the same algorithm to get more vote power. We have certain governance proposals that we will be delivering in the future, or anyone is of course welcome to issue a governance proposal after that system opens up to alter the possibility for collusion. We think that over the long term, the best way to do that with the FTSO system is to move to a staked FTSO system, partially staked. So there's still delegation, but there's some staking so that there's some value at risk. We're working on some ideas around that. We'll issue that to the community, and the community can decide whether that's something they want to go for. We think it's a very good idea. So, the development of Songbird has been amazing. It's amazing to have really a lot of builders on Songbird for such an early stage. As you know, we've articulated a lot of concepts around bridging, things like the F assets, things like layer cake. We're very excited to see those come to fruition through partners that want to build those kind of things. And we think that will turbocharge the Flare ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot in the community have been asking about, when S assets, but I guess it depends on the builders, right? Being there to use those protocols on Songbird. So just on Songbird, do you see, it's encouraged that every sort of single dApp that wants to build on Flare needs to be tested and deployed on Songbird first. Is that the general?
We would definitely recommend it. we obviously don't have control over it, but we would certainly recommend it. And where the foundation issues grants and things like that, which is something most developers ask for, we would enforce it. We think it's a great way to find out whether the application you're building has any issues, whether the way the network functions as the developer believes it does. And especially when developing with protocols that we've developed, such as the FTSO or the state connector, Songbird will be an extremely good proving ground for developers' understanding of those protocols and how that can integrate into their application. So for instance, if you want to use the FTSO as an oracle, I would absolutely recommend launching on Songbird first.
Yeah, thank you. So as I understand, anyone can provide data services to the FTSO, to the state connector, as well as validating of the network to earn rewards. So how do you see the entities behind these roles evolving over time?
Absolutely. So I see that the FTSOs really form a fantastic group of guardians to the network. And with staking potentially for the FTSO role, if that would pass governance, I see that the attestation providers, the bulk of the attestation providers, are also likely to be validators and FTSOs. So kind of for me, the creation of almost a single cohesive role for all of the aspects of the network, where you have validation, FTSO, and state connector attestation essentially rolled into one technical package. I think that's probably the best path forward for it.
Yeah, and that's the fascination for me, realizing that, first of all, the system's very open, so anyone can participate, but also for the community, the delegators, where we choose to, delegate to whoever we want. And I think in the future, as the system becomes more or less, what's the word, maybe saturated or an equal playing field, should you say, I think branding will matter a lot. And on that, Hugo, let's say if you mentioned staking to validators, is there any, because the way I see it, FTSO is a service. We as a community, we delegate our power, and then we earn a proportion of the inflation. So with validation, is there any ability for our delegation to the validators for us to earn rewards, seeing as if
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Again, governance vote can't change anything without governance. But our thoughts on that are essentially that the FTSO role and the validator role and the attestation provider, certainly what we call the default attestation provider, gets merged, and essentially your stake to that or your delegation to one of those entities would earn rewards. Stake being essentially locked up and essentially not at risk from slashing. We're not necessarily intending to put forward a proposal that has slashing, but there would be the whole idea behind proof of stake is essentially that slashing happens automatically if enough validators or enough participants are nefarious. It happens because the price of the token falls. And so what you would say is, if you have a staking system that essentially your tokens are at risk almost by default, even if there is no slashing. So we're looking at, can we integrate staking into the FTSO validator component? The staking component would earn more than the delegation component. The staking component would only be a small percentage of the total amount that is delegated to essentially validator FTSOs. But it would earn a little more than the delegators, as it's a riskier activity.
Right. It's fascinating, Hugo. I can't wait to really take the time to think through, because not all of this is available, and the information. But it's very clear that the team, you guys have really thought deeply about network incentives. Every process, every protocol for data provisioning First of all, it's decentralized and it's rewarded. So even governance on Songbird, for example, for FIP, has incentives and game theory built in. I'd like to hear, more broadly, Hugo, like to what extent has the team thought about embedding incentives into the network?
I mean, that's really been the whole protocol design. We spent a huge amount of time, and now we've had time with Songbird to understand how people act, in reality, not just under some kind of academic assumptions. And it's been a fantastic process for us to observe how people act and where essentially there might be ways to improve the way incentive mechanisms work. So, for instance, with the FTSO itself, we're looking for ways, and I believe a governance proposal will be delivered on Songbird to make participating as an FTSO easier, such that the reward band is somewhat relaxed, such that the earnings of FTSOs are more equal. At the moment, it's a very much a winner-take-all scenario, and that's great. But it can incentivize nefariousness. Again, that nefariousness has never gotten to a level that has in any way threatened the Oracle itself. But we want to make sure that those incentives are removed as we move forward.
Yeah, agree. And the FTSO was built and designed for decentralized prices, and at the moment on Songbird, it's doing exactly that. And so I think also agree with you, relaxing the reward band would achieve its aim still. So no, I agree with you there. How do you envision the relay of FTSO prices as well as state attestations? How do you see that being adopted by the broader cross-chain ecosystem beyond Flare? And if I can add another question to that is, what would be the network effects of such relay data?
So obviously we're not building a relay system ourselves, but we do have a number of parties that have expressed an interest in building a relay system, and in fact have some really very interesting thoughts on how to do it. We're also looking at working with some of the existing relay networks that do exist out there. I think the FTSO is a fantastic Oracle. It's been a great success on Songbird, and I really think that if we can open it up to the broader crypto ecosystem, I think it's a potentially very interesting idea that applications all across the ecosystem could potentially be using the prices that are delivered by this really wonderfully decentralized Oracle that is secured and really forms the Flare network. So were that to happen, certainly there would be great network effects. I think there would be network effects as well if people build bridges to and from Flare. So the more going outbound and the more coming inbound, the greater network effects there will be. But this allows people to either build on Flare to serve the Flare community itself, or it allows people to build essentially with Flare, using the Oracle, using the state connector to serve other communities. And to us, that's really the entire idea behind Connect Everything, is we didn't want to just build a blockchain that was trying to compete with other layer 1 blockchains. We wanted to build a blockchain that serves as many blockchains as possible because it has really great utility.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I see in the design as well. Can I ask then, just on that note, so has there been any development partners, the ones that have thought about designing the relay? What fee models have they proposed for, if it's a staked relay? So I guess the community could stake potentially their Flare, and whatever blockchain that data is exported to, would the fee model include fee paid in cross-chain assets?
Absolutely no idea. Only looking at the technical aspects of that currently. Obviously, any fee model that a partner suggests is their own to create, but we would certainly encourage the use of as many assets as possible, including our own. Really, it's about optimizing the safety. Never be greedy to include the use of a particular token if it creates any safety issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got one more question, Hugo, and maybe we can wrap up. Thanks a lot, by the way. Very, very insightful. I can't wait for this recording to be public and to rewatch it. So what I appreciate seeing, I guess, in the design of Flare, as I mentioned, is the openness and the permissionless nature of participating, not just for retail, but perhaps even for more sophisticated financial players. I'm thinking, are there roles available for more institutional players, perhaps to bring their collateral to work, as well as managing risks on certain dApps that may come to the ecosystem? For example, any development partners I know you've mentioned looking to build F assets and lake protocols. For that operation, which entities do you see fit as being agents and bandwidth providers?
Oh, absolutely. So really, our ideas around bridging are quite simple. People have tried to create bridges which are extremely dependent only on technology. This has created essentially a hugely concentrated risk surface, whereby if you can undermine that technology, and many of them have been undermined, that you can essentially steal a large amount of money. Our ideas around bridging are absolutely technology first, of course, but provide a level of, I guess, allow for very sophisticated financial partners to come in and provide insurance at the protocol level. So this is kind of like taking an idea from traditional finance, insurance, and bringing it into the decentralized space by allowing that insurance to operate at the smart contract level. I don't think it's not particularly, revolutionary. There are decentralized insurance models out there, but not for bridges, not for cross-chain activity. And we think that bridges and cross-chain activity are probably some of the riskiest areas in the space. And we really want to try and make that substantially better going forward. And so, the roles in those protocols are very much around making sure the bridge is trustless, making sure that if you're moving your asset between one chain or another, that there's no centralized intermediary in the middle. But doing that safely with insurance, it doesn't matter that the insurance is provided by a centralized party. Anyone could provide it. It doesn't matter even if that insurance is provided by one party, because the protocols keep it trustless, because the insurance funds are held on chain. So this is a really nice hybrid between, super decentralization and essentially providing a role for traditional financial entities to get involved in a decentralized mechanism.
Yeah, look, I'm sort of nodding and shaking my head in sort of fascination of that design. It makes total sense. Look forward to whichever partner is developing that, and look forward to testing maybe even on Songbird. Hugo, that's all I've got, but I've got just a couple of sort of rapid fire questions for you if you could answer.
Okay.
Okay, so number one, for simple majority votes, the 30% turnout threshold is of the available supply, or is it of the total eligible votes supply?
So it is the total eligible votes supply. So the total eligible votes supply is essentially the available supply less entities that cannot vote in governance. So that's essentially the Flare Foundation.
Right. Yeah, I asked that because I punched in some numbers and I found that the first FIP could actually be triggered and approved quite quickly after TDE or token launch. Is this technically plausible? And if yes, how after FIP, would the dip rewards be rewarded?
Okay, so yes, we think that it's highly likely that there could be sufficient distribution by exchanges that FIP01 could essentially be triggered on Monday after we distribute, potentially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll see when the exchanges actually do distribute the token. But we think it could be almost immediately after launch that we would have crossed the threshold such that the FIP01 vote can be held. There would then be the vote, and that has certain parameters around how that should be held. A week to I believe it's a week to cast your vote, those kind of things. But that is formally laid out in the FIP01 proposal. I don't have all of the details of that in the top of my head, but it is available on our website. So assuming that gets triggered very quickly, the vote could be held very quickly. And once the vote is passed, there would then need to be between, I think it's 3 or 4 weeks before essentially the first FIP01 based distributions would happen, because there's some there are some elements to essentially trigger through governance.
Yeah, that's exciting, and may not be the best news for some, claimants are locked up on some exchanges, but it is what it is. As you mentioned in the tweet, the community has to move forward. Hugo, look, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed hearing your perspectives on Flare and Songbird. Look, with TDE just a few days away, I hope you have some champagne bottles ready to celebrate with us. Thank you very much for this call.
Thank you, Ash.
Any sort of messages, last words that you want to leave to the community or anything like that?
So this video, I believe, will go out during TDE. So I think the team will be shattered, but very, very excited. Thank you for coming with us on this journey, both the team and the community. We really hope that you enjoy using Flare, that it provides an interesting way for you to engage in the decentralized environment, that it provides utility to you, and we really look forward to the development of the network, development of applications on the network by people that want to build on it, and thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Hugo.
Tell me about the Panther integration, because I understand it's going to bring more privacy to the Flare holder, and I want to understand this a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. So Panther is using zero knowledge proofs to essentially create a shielded pool. What does that mean? That means lots of people can put tokens into the pool, and the pool is essentially external to the network. It then uses zero knowledge proofs essentially to allow you to come in and out of that pool without others being able to track that. So what does that let you do? When I say track that, I mean track exactly who has done that. So that pool can then trade on your behalf on DEXs and things like that without it being known who is doing that trading. It obviously requires a large number of people to go into that pool in order for there to be sufficient privacy as to which entity is exactly doing those transactions. But this is a very exciting application of zero knowledge proofs. Now, really importantly is that unlike some of the other privacy layers, they are incorporating compliance and KYC into that. It is optional, but we think it's very important that if there's going to be privacy, and privacy is a fundamental right, that there is a way to prove that that entity or person who is doing the trading is compliant. So there can be lots of different variations. There can be uncompliant privacy pools, and that is entirely up to the individual. But for institutions, I think it's very important that they are able to transact with privacy whilst maintaining KYC and legal compliance. This creates a much greater likelihood that institutions will come to blockchain if they can trade, with privacy, because they don't want their positions to be revealed in real time, because it creates a disadvantage against others, against other market participants, especially if you're a large institution. So that's sort of what Panther are up to. I think it's very exciting. I'm a big believer in privacy. I think that it's an absolutely necessary prerequisite for blockchain to get global adoption.
My next question is about Probity. It's a website that I have been taking a peek on through the Trustline Twitter feed, and also having a look in GitHub to see what they're up to. And I see this integration happening with Flare and FLR and the such, and also the big shout out that you received on the website that you were integral in making it happen. I'm just kind of curious, what's going on here, and what is this site going to provide?
So Probity is an application that has been built, and I believe the team have open sourced it and allow anyone to deploy it. Probity is a lending system that allows people to borrow on a blockchain. Specifically, there's an EVM version of that, and so anyone can take that EVM version and deploy that on Flare. And we're really thankful to the Probity team, especially Matt, for building that. And we think it'll be a great basis for lending applications to be built on Flare.
Okay, great. Another really valuable tool and source for people to leverage this great stake connector. Wonderful. My last question is an odd one, maybe, but I was really happy to see the Tennyson poem that you put for the New Year's greeting, and I just really want to know, is there another Tennyson poem that you can recite?
I can't recite this one, but I remember very much as a young child my uncle reciting this at me endlessly, which was the charge of the Light Brigade, and I think that's really why I like Tennyson, probably from that early experience. I think he may have had a bit to drink, to be honest with you. He certainly did recite it quite frequently. But there's another Tennyson poem I really, really like, and it's break, break, break on thy cold grey stones, O sea, and I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. And it's it very much sort of embodies for me, that tempest in your mind when you're in, a place where we're all in a lot of the time, or some of the time. It's difficult, and that storm in your mind, and it's sort of it's to know that other people have that mentality. Is relieving in a way for me.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much, Hugo. I really, really appreciate the time, and I look forward to the drop.
Thank you so much. And you were the first person that interviewed me, so thank you for doing so. And I don't think the Flare and the Flare community would be here without you.
Oh, that's way too much to say, but I'm just so happy and grateful for all the work that you've done and the value that you've brought to the ecosystem. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And please pass that on to the team too.
I will, absolutely. Thank you, Eri. Happy New Year.
Okay, bye-bye.
Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. With me today is Hugo Filion, who's the co-founder and CEO of Flare Networks. Hugo, great to have you back on.
Hey, Tony, how are you?
I'm doing well. Exciting times. The Flare Network token distribution coming up in a few days. I'm excited to get my tokens. I'm excited to delegate. Have some few questions here for you as we get ready for that. Are there any new updates with exchanges? I know one of the things you were working on was with Celsius, also Coinbase. They had a more extended timeline. Any changes to that?
Yeah, so we did talk to Celsius. They are trying very hard to work with the court to make sure that people can get their tokens. Not certain of the outcome of that yet. We will work with them where we can. And yeah, let's see with regards to Celsius. Hopefully that works. Coinbase, as you know, they announced that they will distribute the token. That's fantastic. Not sure when that will be. They announced it'll be in the first half of the year. Again, let's see when that happens. Hopefully it's as soon as possible.
For sure. And then to confirm, folks are getting 15% of the tokens, and then they would have to delegate to receive the remaining 85%. Is that correct?
Not quite. Currently, the system is set up as per the existing distributions. So there's a set of addresses which claim the original distribution. They'd be getting 15% on day one, and then they'd be getting monthly amounts thereafter. We've expanded the utility of Flare such that it no longer just serves one community. Potentially, it could serve all communities. We have put forward a governance proposal called FIP01, which essentially makes the distribution of the remaining 85% of the token to people that delegate, not even delegate, just wrap their token. We're using that as a proxy for delegation. So if that governance proposal passes, if people wrap their token, they will get a share of the 85%. But currently, we're still on the old method because the governance vote hasn't happened. The governance vote can happen when 66% of the tokens have been distributed, meaning 66% of the initial 15%. So we think that will happen more or less immediately after TDE. Governance vote won't happen immediately. There's a period of time whereby we announce it and then allow the votes to accumulate. That'll obviously be publicly listed on all of our social media and all of the various places you can find out about Flare.
Hugo, good to see you again.
Hey, Santiago, how are you?
Very good, very good. I'm super excited to get the opportunity to meet with you once again since our Real Vision interview a long time ago. This is a great chance to recap just before the launch of Flare Network and the Flare token, which everyone is eagerly anticipating. We appreciate all the hard work you're doing. So how's it going so far?
Yep, it's going really well. Songbird's been around since September 2021. It's performing really well. And, the first protocol we've launched on Songbird, the FTSO, the Flare Time Series Oracle, has, more than 80 participants. It's probably the most decentralized Oracle in the space, and it's very accurate. It's been performing well. We're extremely excited by it, but it has also been a great chance to test our assumptions and make changes around those assumptions based on governance.
Yeah, and that was exactly the nature and purpose of a canary network like Songbird, right? Was to kind of move beyond the test environment into some level of production, move quickly, break things, and check and adjust, right? So you can make a better, more robust Flare network. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And as you may or may not have read on our website, Songbird will also be the lower house of governance for Flare. So it's the sorting mechanism for governance. You can have as many governance proposals as you like, but 4 per year are passed up to Flare through essentially a voting system.
Oh, that's interesting. That's new. I had not heard that before. So that should incentivize even more participation on Songbird, at least for those individuals who are very passionate about having their way of being just still up to the main Flare network. So that's a great insight.
Absolutely. We modeled it after the lower house and upper house bicameral system.
Very good. Excellent. And that kind of lends itself to the narrative all along about this democratized, decentralized network and this United Nations of layer ones. And it's a place we can all come to and transact on a level playing field. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's get right to it. We've noticed a remake of the website. It's a redo. There's some things that are put to higher attention, other things that have been slightly deprecated. You want to give us a quick summary of what's going on there and why?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, first of all, aesthetically, our old website was a bit ugly, and we've overhauled it, made it look better, brought in people to figure out, how to make things look better than your average set of engineers can. But more importantly, we think we've done a lot of work to distill what Flare is about. We've also, over the last couple of years, been thinking about what Flare is about and innovating around what Flare is about. So the protocols that we're launching, such as the FTSO and the state connector, they originally were intended for one purpose. And that purpose was to create a bridging mechanism for non-smart contract assets. We're going a lot further with the protocols. The protocols have been extended in their functionality, such that essentially what Flare is now is designed as the network through which to get information. So one of the big issues in blockchain is that developers can only currently work really with the information on the chain that their application is on. Sure, there are oracles, and sure, there are some limited communication protocols between blockchains, but we want to go a lot bigger than that. We want Flare to be essentially the single repository for sort of every type of information possible, whether it's from the internet or whether it's from another blockchain. And we think that by enabling essentially developers to build with smart contracts applications that can access a vast array of different information securely, then we think that creates substantially more utility. So we've deprecated the message about bridging somewhat. Bridging is just a single use case now of Flare. It used to be the whole idea behind Flare, but really it's a simple use case. There could be thousands, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of use cases around that, especially as people essentially innovate on the protocols that we're building. So one of the key changes we've made with the state connector is to add a new blockchain or to add a new data type. You only need to update that at the client side. The client side doesn't sit on the blockchain. It's something that a node runs that is separate from the blockchain. And so that makes adding a new network or a new data type very, very much easier and completely unrelated to us. So it makes adding new stuff to the network really, really easy. And we really want Flare to be the easiest place to add new data and to use that data in a dApp.
Wow. Okay. So let me see if I can summarize a little bit for the audience as best as I understand it. I always did think it's a little clunky that this Internet of Value, or maybe an interoperable set of blockchains, were all in parallel to an Internet of Information that we already are used to. And that wall really between value and information is prohibitive. It can prevent a lot of interesting applications. And what I think I'm hearing you say is you're generalizing the functionality of the Oracle provider to allow for the Internet of Information to feed in the Internet of Value, and in doing so, bridge those two. So it's a whole new kind of paradigm around interoperability. That's just not interoperability, right? Between value.
Exactly. It's the state connector, we believe in its form, is the safest way for a blockchain to understand another blockchain. That can be extended, that model can be extended to be able to absorb information from other places. The FTSO does that already today with prices, but beyond prices, there's a lot more information that can be gathered.
And what kind of information and what's a sample use case for fun that people can start imagining?
So, I think social media is a great place to start. I think a monetization layer on top of a platform like Twitter would be a fantastic place to start, such that let's say you send a tweet, it has a hashtag, and hashtag relates to an advertising campaign that someone wants to pay you for, you get paid on a chain.
Wow.
That's a simple example. I'd like to go a lot further than that. I'd like, it would be a long road to go further than that. But ultimately, I'd like people to be able to do things with smart contracts directly from the internet. That's a harder ask and a longer road. But certainly, I think that is what, one of the biggest issues in blockchain is that it's very, very hard for people to use. I think, as I said on a podcast the other day, only about 5% of people have what's known as level 3 computer literacy, meaning that they're really good at using a computer. Blockchain today, unless you're just trading through a centralized exchange, which is just using the internet essentially, but blockchain, if you actually want to use a blockchain, probably requires at least level 3 proficiency. And so if it's not made easier, we won't scale to millions or billions of users. We've got millions of users, but we won't scale to billions of users. And really, our goal, and it's step by step, chip by chip, that we want to be able to at least make a little advance in being able to make blockchain scale to appeal to a much larger audience.
Wow, that's a huge vision, and I like it. I welcome it. I think
it's not going to be us. It's not just us. Everyone's working towards the same goal. There's probably 10 or 12 different things that need to happen for us to be able to, as an industry scale. We are just working today on the data aspect. So there's things like account abstraction, which should make using blockchains easier. There's things like privacy, which should make blockchains better in terms of being able to handle personal data that you don't want exposed. We're not working on those. There's things like scaling. We're also not currently working on that. We're working on how do you get really good data? And then once great privacy layers come along, it's how do we apply our protocols to those privacy layers. So these are things that are far in the future and not entirely dependent on us, but we think our contribution to the space will be getting great data into the blockchain space.
Wow, so we really start seeing here the results from Songbird, because I think the realization came that this FTSO process, the pedigree of data, the competitive framework, the kind of this ever-evolving precision lends itself to generalization, right? You can take that methodology, apply it to all types of data, and increase the pedigree of that data, and then use it, make it useful for real-world applications, things that people want to do, instead of just token trading, right, or speculation.
Exactly. The thing that bothers me at the moment is that most of the use cases are somewhat self-referential. So it's borrow some money, borrow some centralized stablecoins against, or decentralized stablecoins against some token. That token has value because of the borrowing capabilities of that token, and that becomes a somewhat self-referential. Now, it's obviously a bit more complex than that, but I'd like to break out of the self-referential model.
And so now that the network is about to launch, I would assume that there are validators which will be running this network. Has Flare talked about or planned to decentralize this, and what would the governance look like in that kind of system?
Absolutely. So we are currently in what we call beta mode, which is where the network is run by the foundation and 4 institutional validator sets. So that's who's running the network, together with the FTSOs, who will be spinning up validators in the near future. Past beta mode, which we've estimated will take about 9 months, essentially beta mode must finish within 9 months. We have a model of essentially being able to run the network by being an FTSO.
I see. And is the consensus layer still, was it an offshoot of Avalanche to begin with, correct? Does it
Absolutely.
remain so? And
it's,
how will...
The consensus layer is Snowman++. We've always had our own interest in building our own consensus layer, but we're nowhere near that yet.
And will changes, let's say the Avalanche community makes a bunch of upgrades or governance changes to the core protocol. Is there a mechanism by which it would transfer over to Flare going forward?
Absolutely. On the whole, when you're using a protocol, they tend to put out safety updates. You definitely integrate those, and that happens fairly automatically.
And of course, the Ethereum virtual machine will remain a component on top of the Stack to write and facilitate smart contracts. Is that's also going to remain there?
For now, we've chosen the EVM. It could potentially be swapped out in the future if an alternative virtual machine comes along that is adopted widely and has better performance. Again, a change like that is vast and has many ramifications would have to happen through a governance vote.
Excellent. And I guess my final question, we talked about F assets, and it's understood now, I guess, in the context of our conversation, that that's really a deprecated concept, not to diminish or eliminate that F assets will exist, but now that we're talking about generalization, F assets will continue to remain possible on the network. Is that correct?
So F assets absolutely will remain possible. The F assets require the state connector and the FTSO. And they're there, but you can now do so many more things with Flare.
Excellent, that's great. And of the networks that you intend to engage, the communities, et cetera, do they still remain essentially the same population of networks? I think there was Bitcoin and Doge.
Broadly for the non-smart contract assets, certainly, if the F assets are delivered, we absolutely think that Doge and Bitcoin, XRP obviously being the largest community within Flare currently, those are great networks to sort of target.
Excellent. Oh, anything else you want to share in the little bit of time we have left for the community?
So this call will go out when TDE is happening. So we're all extremely excited about that. It's been a long road getting here. It's been very, very hard work to work with all of the exchanges to make sure that almost all of them are ready and in position and are distributing quickly. We're upset, obviously, that some of the entities such as Celsius have had difficulties, and that's problematic, but we're working with them where we can, but that's under legal process, so we're very restricted there. We're obviously working with Coinbase. We're delighted that they have chosen to support it. And obviously, we will be working with them to help them expedite that within their 6-month timeframe that they've given.
That's excellent. Great news, Hugo. I'm wishing you all the best. As I intend to be a Flare recipient, so I have a vested interest in the success of the network. I hope that everything goes well, and even if we have problems, I'm confident you and your team will solve them. So I've got my Flare hoodie here, just showing it off as for good luck. So thank you very much, Hugo.
Thank you so much, Santiago, and it's a great hoodie.
We'll be getting you one of those soon. All right, definitely. Guys, take care.
Thanks. So we're about 81% through the distribution right now, which is fantastic. We're almost done. And in the last hour and a half, about 1,150 people have delegated to the FTSOs with about 50 million Flare tokens, which is really cool. We're going to wrap up now, as it's very late where we are. But before I do, I want to say thank you so much to our community for supporting us. You've really helped us get to this point. You helped us get the exchanges on board. This wouldn't have happened without you. So thank you so much. And I really wanted to say thank you to some of the people that have supported us, that put fantastic information out about us, that are constant champions of Flare. So I want to say thank you to Ash, Mickey B. Fresh, Crypto Eri, Flare Community, Annie Ways, Nebuchadnezzar,
Tony from Thinking Crypto, Santiago, Jenner XRP, Bearable Bull, JC Collins, Kingsman from Xtoes, who has really championed Flare, John Deaton, and Joel Lecoma. So thank you so much. We're going to leave the distribution screen up now. We really look forward to seeing people use Flare, build on Flare. We look forward to applications coming to Flare, and we look forward to the protocols being rolled out on Flare. So thanks so much. I hope everyone has a great morning, day, evening, wherever they are. We're going to go and celebrate as a team now. So thank you so much.